Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Almost 30.
Hello, everybody. It's Lindsay and Krista. Thanks for joining us. We're so happy you're here.
So happy you're here. If a friend sent you, thank you so much to the friend. If you're new here, we've been around for 5 years. We talk about health, wellness, spirituality, all the things. We started when we were about to turn 30, and now we're over the hill.
Over the hill, baby. About 44.
Yeah, yeah, literally. We're 56 years
Yeah, I want
old.
to say I'm older so that people look at me and they're like, wow.
Yeah, you
don't
look young.
I feel like people say that to us now, which
I'm
not afraid to say.
Dude, I don't know. I don't know what I look like. I don't know what
We
I
only
don't
look
know
in the mirror once a
anything,
month.
Honestly, if I have to put on makeup.
See what's going on.
I'll look like sometimes where I'm like filming something. I'm like, oh, I didn't blend my contour at all. It always happens on my nose because I like contour my nose and I just like a little like ragamuffin.
There's just like tracks.
Yeah, dude, I look like I just like put my nose in the like chimney. It is. It's like fully, but it's also like it like shades it, so it's good at the same time. So I don't want to wipe it off. It makes a huge difference. This is actually crazy. This isn't crazy, but when I was like nannying for this family down the street, it was an interesting situation. I remember I found like a dildo in the mom's like room. Anyways, she taught me how to contour my nose. I was literally 12.
Where did the dildo come in?
I just remember one time I found it on her bedside.
Did she use the dildo to contour?
Yes, literally. She contoured my face with a dildo. No, I just remember I found that, or the kids showed it to me. I think the kids showed it to me, and I was like, dude, flabbergasted. Because back then, you're like, whoa, this is...
Was it an actual dildo or a massager?
Dildo.
Wow.
I was like, whoa, she's insane. You know what I mean? I was like, she is fucking insane.
And now we're like, enjoy your vibes for Moo More Play.
Yes, honestly. Now I get sent like a new dildo every week from different brands.
We got sent, I honestly forget the brand, but we got sent a box of vibrators.
I know. I have them in that kitchen.
And they're nice, but one of them, and I put it in my bedside table. I don't know why. Sometimes I'm just like,
you have to.
Let's just, whatever.
Yes.
And I pulled it out one day. It looks like a fucking huge flame. Like it's a huge flame. It like kind of fits in your I don't know.
Oh, I kind of like that.
And Sean just looked at me like,
dude, too much.
What the he's like, what is that? And I'm like, you're right. It's actually too much.
Yeah.
It just like doesn't make sense. Like for a guy to see that girl, whatever partner to see that, they're just like, is that a theme? Like, is there a fire theme? Is there a saucy theme? But it's really just about the shape. And
I'm sure it was dope.
I mean, yeah, it was dope. Sure. Yeah, yes. It was dope.
Oh my God. Also at this house that I was babysitting at, I also found my first porn that I ever saw. And okay, I've actually literally seen porn one time, and it was this. Wow. It was Pirates of the Caribbean. But
did you have to press play?
So I put it in the video player, and the video player like literally got stuck and broke. And I think I had to like have a friend come over. I swear. It was like called Pirates. It was like Pirates of the Caribbean. But it was like, let me look it up.
Pirates of the Clitterbean?
Yes, of the Caribbean porn. It was like the most high budget porn ever. And it was like, I wonder if it was
So you took it out of the DVD case, put it in, pressed play, thinking it's the Pirates of the Caribbean or thinking it's porn.
No, I knew it was porn and I was like, what is this? I think it was maybe just called Pirates. I thought maybe it was like Butt Pirates of the Caribbean. But yeah, I put it in, and I don't even know if it really played, but yeah, she also had that Pirates of the Caribbean porn, which was like my first thing. And then, oh my God, and the dad in the basement had like tons of videos and magazines. The kids showed me. It was an interesting house.
The kids showed you?
Yeah, the son. So like the son was like a little bit older.
Like 10?
Yeah.
So that's young.
That's
so young.
That ain't right. I don't know.
Yeah, that ain't right.
I don't know. But she taught me to contour, which is also hilarious because I'm like 12. She's like, don't love it. Contour it. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, what's going on? Like, I don't love my nose as a 10-year-old or whatever. And then she taught me to contour.
Dude, I haven't tried contouring yet. Like, I haven't learned. I haven't tried it.
I'm not that good at it.
No, but it really works.
Yeah.
It really works.
If you have like a moon face like me,
no.
you have to make shape. I have to make shape with these cheeks.
But I'm always like it always looks like dirt to me. Like, you know what I mean?
And then you bake. Have you heard like Kylie Jenner bakes? So you put
what is that?
certain layers on and then you let it sit, which is called baking.
Oh.
Yeah, who knows?
For what effect?
So like, I don't know. To bake. Shut up. Just bake or shut up. So that's me babysitting a house of freaks.
Oh God.
A freak house. They had a tanning bed in the basement though.
Oh, that's pretty.
I used to tan
legit. Dude, I'm not a good babysitter. I'm good with kids, but anytime they would go to bed, I'd usually, I would definitely eat the person's food.
Oh yeah, that's what.
But
you're
like,
supposed to.
but sneaky. They didn't like say you can eat it. Like it was not okay. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I used to like fuck in their hot tubs. Like, what do you mean? Like, you used to steal snacks? Like, they're paying
I'm like,
you.
confession.
Yeah, you're like, confession. There was 4 Dunkaroos, and when I left, there was 3. I'm like, yeah. I'm watching porn on the big screen.
Oh, God.
Snack eating's par for the course. So Sex Rolls listened to this episode.
Yeah, it does. It does pretty well.
So we met Dr. Sheila. I met Dr. Sheila through Debbie Brown. I was so grateful to be at Debbie's birthday. Debbie's a friend of ours, a friend of the pod. Dropping Gems is her pod. And she's been on the show. We were on her show. And I was at her birthday, and there was this amazing, beautiful woman that was doing acupuncture and these treatments by the pool for Debbie's birthday. So I walked up and I got like acupuncture, and then I did a reading with her, and I was like, I forgot I told Dr. Sheila that she could read me, and she kept saying shit that I was like, it was like, I don't know if you've ever had this experience where people are saying things that are so accurate to you or the energy of what's going on that you're like freaked out.
Yeah.
Like it was so weird. She's like, I work with people that are X, Y, and Z, and literally like said me in an accurate detail that was unbelievable.
Wow.
And I was, a few things she said were just, I was kind of weirded out. I'm like, because if there was someone else there, it wouldn't make sense that she said that. Mm-hmm. So I was like, wow, she's very profound. And then I got to go to do a treatment with her, thank goodness, before we did the interview. And I went to get it, and she sent information to our team. Got lost in the sauce. And she's like, oh, did you like watch the videos and like read the information on your treatment? This is like a sexual healing treatment. I'm like, no, like whatever, it's fine. And then we were talking through the treatment, and like we're going through the images or like what's going on, and she shows me this image. She's like, okay, so this is where some of the needles for acupuncture are going to go, and it's literally a drawing of an open vagina. And I was like, dude, what?
I don't know if I could have done
She's
it.
like, right here and right here. They do all these things, which we'll go into full detail on the podcast, the treatment that I did, how we prepped for it, what it was for. But I was like, whatever. At this point, we've done so much weird stuff. I just was
and when
like,
you're in the room and you don't, my problem is always anticipation of the thing. And when you don't, you can't anticipate
I didn't feel it.
You're like, okay.
The needles that went in like the 2 spots that are, from a Chinese medicine's perspective, very profound for sexual healing and nervous system regulation. I didn't even feel.
Wow.
It was weird. Like it was.
And did you, so your legs were open.
So
were you on your back?
So I was on my back. My legs were butterflied. And then there was one that went in like the butt. I like near the butthole, and then
between the vag and the butthole. Mm-hmm.
And then I put my leg down, and then I was able to lay my legs down.
Whoa!
But I was like, you're scared to move.
I know.
You're like, dude, it's gonna stab me. Like, I was terrified to move. Yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna puncture a uterus.
And what did you feel during? Because I know there's kind of like an integration time. While
I felt so relaxed. I just felt like my nervous system got completely just liberated. And in sense, seeing her, I mean, it's like, this is my time to do this work around sexual trauma healing and stuff like that. And I've really avoided it for all my life. And so it's very interesting that she was brought into my life at this time. And then this door was opened where I could do some healing therapy with her. And it would be beyond talk therapy because, I'm going to be doing work on this in EMDR and talk therapy with my therapist, Christina Weiss. And then I can also do this, which is more of like for the body and the nervous system. And, you know, we all know this, that like, or I feel like this in particular, like talk therapy is so amazing, but there needs to be that next step of energy work, of like movement, of breath, of dance, of ecstatic movement, whatever it is, to like really move the energy. Because sometimes it feels super stagnant when you're in talk therapy. So it'll be good to have this as like a thing to move energy, especially from like a Chinese medicine perspective.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I feel like she kind of came into this particular niche of her work later. And I believe she talks about it, but you know, she started out as nutritionist, acupuncturist, herbalist, and just kind of understanding. She gave a statistic in the actual episode where there's, do you remember it? It's like
80%?
Yeah, just a staggering
Reported.
statistic that like women report having sexual trauma, sexual abuse,
or sexual experiencing sexual assault, which encompasses like rape, inappropriate touching, etc.
And so she's really made it her purpose and work.
And also it was interesting too, as for sexual assault, the average woman makes $45,000 a year, she said. In the average case, if someone were to file a claim against the perpetrator of sexual assault or rape or abuse, is like $150,000. So a lot of times people don't want to report it. And, you know, for monetary reasons, or even just the fact of you spend a lot of time in court, it's kind of traumatizing. People don't believe you. So in this episode, we talk about sexual trauma, healing through sexual trauma, different parts of the nervous system and brain that are affected. We really go into the science. And then we spent a lot of time talking about just like sacred sexuality and pleasure, orgasm, and also a little bit of her experience having an open relationship. So we talked a little bit about open relationships, which was really fun because we haven't ever explored that before.
Yeah, it was fun to hear, because in the season that she's in right now, she doesn't want an open relationship, but when she did choose that in her last relationship and it was mutual, it was almost as if she knew that she would learn so much.
Yes.
Which was so beautiful, because I think we can easily resist the things that hold so much growth for us. Then she was so open to it. So that was like really, really inspiring to me. But you can learn more from Dr. Sheila, and she has incredible courses on sacred sexuality, sexual healing, sleep health, holistic healing. You can go to SheilaMarieCambell.com. That's SHEILA, MarieCambell.com.
Yeah, and you can find her on Instagram at Dr. Sheila Marie Campbell as well. And then she works in the LA area. So if you loved this one, if you want to share more information about sexual trauma healing, about sacred sexuality and pleasure, and even open relationships, share this with a friend. And if you're not already, make sure you're subscribed to Almost 30. We want to hit your phone's inbox whenever we drop a new episode each week.
Truly. All right. Enjoy this one, and we will see you on the other side.
We love you.
Bye.
She's here. Hi. We met at Debbie Brown's birthday.
We sure did.
It was the best. And it was very interesting, and I don't think you know this, but when we were talking, you were saying things that were very interesting and unique to me, and I think you were reading me, and I don't know if you knew. And I was like sitting there, I'm like, oh, she's reading me and speaking to things that are true about me, but I didn't know if you knew. Like, you pulled out these very random, weird examples that I'm like, that's very odd, because that's exactly my experience.
You asked me to read you. Do you remember? You sat down and you said...
Oh, just kidding. I gave you permission.
You asked me to read you. And I was like, okay, we're going there.
And you did.
And I read you.
Yes, it was crazy. And even in the short time that I've been with you, even right now, when you were just speaking before you spoke, you speak to things that are true for me that I don't know. I think you're pulling from something.
For sure.
That's very interesting, because right before we got started, we were talking a little bit about when people experience sexual trauma, they can feel angry when they have sex.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've felt for years. And it's something that I didn't know what was going on. And it would happen just inconsistently. So I didn't know what was going on. But I'd love to hear, before we really get into everything and the treatment that I did and all of your work, I'd love to just kind of finish that conversation about that, because I'm sure there are a lot of women that have felt that, where they've had sexual assault and they're feeling angry at points when they have sex.
Yeah. So the way that I had described it earlier, and the way that I I'm obviously an avid researcher. I have a doctorate in Chinese medicine, and I love science a lot. Even though I have my deep spiritual mystical side, I still like to know what the F is going on. And so the way that I have seen it over the past decade of really studying people's bodies is we have these different layers. You know, you have your muscular system, you have your digestive system, you have your nervous system, you have all of these different systems within the Western science, which I just named. And then with Eastern science, we have channels, meridians, collaterals. And so the way that I've seen it over the years is we have a sexual body. You have a body that you have sex in, you know, and you have this part of yourself that you connect to with other people. So when there's trauma that happens to that body, it's in that body. So then when you go into that body, you know, just like when we go into our mind or we go into our workout, like you go into your workout routine and you're like, I'm going to work my muscles. You put on whatever music you want to listen to and you just go for it. And that is the same thing when there's trauma in the container with the sexuality. So just like if you were working out and you had, you know, an ankle injury and you tore a ligament, and then you have to be aware of that tear. And then when you work out again, you have to rehab it. It's the same thing with sex. If you have a trauma in that container, there's different chemicals in the body that are communicating, and there's different. And so if it's there, then you have to work through that trauma. And so the anger is going to come in because it's an assault. It's an assault on your spirit, and it's an assault on your body that your body is trying to figure it out.
And is it activating certain? So if we're speaking about the sexual body, is it comprised of different meridians that are a part of that sexual body, or how would you describe that?
Yes. So there's in Chinese medicine, the way that we look at it is the Qong and the Ren. They're extraordinary meridians. And so the Ren channel, it literally moves up the front of your body, and then the Du is the back of the body. And so it literally isn't a circuitry system. So obviously the nervous system and the actual organ, you know, the uterus, the vaginal canal, the penis, the anus, if you like that stuff, no judgment here. But all of that is included. And then you have the meridians that are included. So you have, from a Western standpoint, you have your nervous system, you have the different excitatory neurons that are actually firing when you get excited. And you're like, woo, this person is like, what's going down, you know? And like your body, it's not actually, you're in control of that. Like your body is the one that's like, hey, like, and it's your nervous system that's firing. Like you can walk into a room and you can literally like be like that person right there. Like it's happening. That's the nervous system telling you. And it's like, why do you have that versus some people versus not others? Like you can have someone on paper that you're like, wow, that makes perfect sense. Like, but the body is like, no, it doesn't, because you're sensing things like your smell, your sight, like the pitches of their voice. Like we're animals at the end of the day. And so your instincts are telling you things about someone. And so that is like one layer of it. On a Chinese standpoint, it's like the conception vessel is what it's called. And it's like conceiving. And it's very poetic the way that the Chinese look at it. It's like the nurturer, the conception, like the one that receives the energy. You're like where, and that's what it is. You're like the front of your body is like receiving energy from others. And so when we're dealing with the sexual body, it's very, very poetic, and it's very much like the uterus is something that harnesses the energy. Like it's pulling it in and it's growing life. And so when you're connecting with someone sexually, you're pulling it in and growing life. But if you have an assault in that arena, you know, then you have that anger that's there, and the uterus is actually harnessing it. You know, the uterus is harnessing that energy. And that's why I really am a firm believer in energetic practices and rituals to really purify the waters again after something like this has happened. So you're not harnessing that anger in the body as you're growing new life, which I hoped that all women that have been assaulted, that they can really, truly, and genuinely heal themselves, so they get their body in a really good way, that they can beautifully grow life. And whether it's a baby or whether it's just their life, it's growing.
Wow. Yeah, I did think about that if your uterus or your body, your sexual body's holding that trauma, that your child, there's an energetic that's happening.
Well, yeah, and it's like our bodies, like our DNA and our information that we're storing in our body is informing our children. And so it's like literally when you're growing that person inside of you, all the information that you carry is getting passed to that person. That's DNA, you know? And so whatever the information is, if there's like harm or you like whatever our instincts are, we're passing every single thing that we have to that creature as we're growing it, because we want them to evolve. So they get all the information that we have, all of the information that our ancestors have, and then they get to grow new information and grow new life from there.
Yeah, I think for me, I've just kind of come to terms with it in the past couple of years, all of the times that I've been assaulted or even worse. But so how do we get, I guess, and I have come to terms with it within therapy and giving myself permission to kind of acknowledge what I've been through over the years. So how do you, I guess, get people to the point and help women understand that it is assault that they've experienced? Because I think a lot of women don't believe it, or they don't think it is assault unless it's been incredibly traumatic or very, very grotesquely obvious that it is assault or rape.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's the most important thing is being truthful and honest with yourself and writing it down and just being like, wow, that happened to me. And it's super, I tell all of my women that I work with, it is so important that you're honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. Because it's like, if you're not honest with yourself, you're not detecting when other people aren't honest with you. Because you're like lying to yourself, basically. Wow. So then you're starting relationships from an honest place because you're not being honest in here. And so it's super important that you just own the truth, like own the truth of what happened. And even if that person has a different truth, it doesn't matter. This is your truth and it's your life. And so you're the CEO, the conductor, the director, the politician. You are everything for you, and you have to be truthful to yourself.
And I think women minimize, you know, they think about, well, someone had it worse than this, so I can probably, you know, muscle through it or just get through it. I'm emotionally strong. But that's why I think the sexual body and the recognition of that is so interesting, because we think about like the emotional body, the energetic body, the physical body. And there is this whole other body that is existing and blocking us and or preventing us from fully blocking. I mean, that is life. Like, you know, if we think about sex, it is like creating life, literally creating life. But yeah, I just think your point just about being able to recognize, can we talk about specific examples of what maybe I'm thinking back on, I'm like, oh, that I wouldn't consider that a big T trauma, right? But can we talk about what that might look like, especially as it relates to the anatomy and how that kind of affects I can imagine that the anatomy is connected to the meridians, which is connected to that sexual body.
Yeah, everything's connected. And that's what I love about the style that my schooling, the Pacific College of Oriental Medicine, they are very big on knowing it all. They're like, know the Western body just as much as you know the Eastern body. Like, you have to know the anatomy, you have to know the pharmacology, you have to know the chemistry, because like that's how you're a real doctor, you know, is like you have to know what is going on with the body. And when we're looking at it and we're looking at the different examples, you know, where it's like if you have like just like the bones, you know, like what I said to you, you get an injury on a ligament, it's going to mess with all the meridians. Like it's like the energetics, like say that if I tear the outer part, my right leg, that is going to mess with the way that my energy is moving all the way down to the body and communicating to the earth, and then the earth communicating back to my brain. And so my meridians aren't moving. Like energy that needs to leave my body isn't going to just like fly out. You know, because there's an uncomfort there. So if I pick up, like, just like dogs, have you ever seen dogs just like shake it off? Like I have a girlfriend, her name's actually Layla. She owns Trilogy in San Diego. Do you know, have you heard of Trilogy? It's an amazing yoga studio. But after she hugs people, she just like shakes like a little puppy.
I love that.
She's like, ooh. And like she gives them a hug and then she just shakes.
My cats do that. And I'm like, don't shake my energy off. But I literally am like, stop.
But Layla meets so many, like owning a place like Trilogy, it's a very happening place. And like a lot of people come there for healing, for business, for like all kinds of stuff. So the people that want to hug her every day is insane. And she's super empathic and she just shakes it off real quick.
That's smart.
So we do that all day long, whether it's conscious or unconscious. Like Layla has a conscious practice, you know, where other people might not. So like go back to the injury on the ankle. If I have an injury on the ankle, I can't just like shake things out of my body the way that the body needs to, because if I move the way that I need to, there's like that pain there, and then my body protects it. Then when my body protects it, the muscles protect it. So for instance, like when you said, will you read me? I immediately saw trauma in your hips, and I was like, you're not moving all the way down into your body, and like, why aren't you moving? Her muscles were tightened inward. And so then I'm looking at her muscles and I'm like, okay, if you've created this much already, like she's creating from a place of like contraction instead of a place of expansion. And I don't know how long that's been happening for you. So it's like, yes, the trauma was there, but then guess what? The muscles contort. And like, you probably have an amazing relationship with your husband, but it's like, how amazing is it if your muscles are there? You know what I mean? Because you're basically everywhere you're moving and everywhere you're going from a place of protection instead of a place of like, I'm moving through life. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, and then it's really just like that stuckness in the hips and like the locking of the joints.
Yeah.
Really, and I've thought about that a lot, and I've been trying to allow myself, and that's why I kind of, as much as people wouldn't think, I have a fear of being seen.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you're seen, there's potential.
There's danger.
There's danger.
Yeah.
And so it's working with that too, of like, how can I allow myself to be seen, to feel safe, and allow myself to feel expansive and know that I'm protected, rather than being like, oh my God, I'm scared.
Yeah, and that's the practice, you know, and that's the practice of really understanding your nervous system and understanding your body and understanding, like, I have to work at this every day. I have to chip away every single day for me to stay open when I want to close.
And what do you do to do that?
Oh my God. Do you have 5 hours?
I was like, your morning practice must be, oh, wow.
Yes.
I mean, my life practice though is, oh wow. You know, I have cord cutting rituals after every single person I talk to. I wash my hands a lot, like just constantly connecting to the water. But a practice that I love, that's a Taoist practice, is every day when you wake up, before you look at anything, before you do anything, you greet the sun. And you just breathe in the sun's energy, and you just like all the way down your body, all through your channels and all through your meridians. It's almost like you're like, hello, I'm here, you know? And it's like you breathe the sun's energy, you bring it all the way down like you're a cord and a pillar of the universe. And then you connect and you root your energy into the core of the earth. And so that's like the first pillar, you know, where it's like, that's what you're doing. So I've been doing that for over 10 years. Every day when I wake up, I greet the sun. Even if it's gloomy out or whatever, I don't always like go out and I'm like, hello, you bright shiny star. I wish I was that.
You're like, I walk out of my Malibu mansion.
Where are you, bitch?
Onto the beach.
I walk out,
and I greet the sun.
And I'm like, hello, sun. Someday. But no, I actually just wake up and I'm like, I have to get to emails. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're like, come through, sun.
I'm like, bring yourself here. I'm not going there. But if you're gonna go OG practice, you would like actually walk out and greet the sun. I mean, sometimes when I wake up, I'm waking up before the sun anyways, like for my practices. And the way that I like to do it is I like to do my Kundalini practice in the morning. Then I have my Pilates practice and just get in my core. But the way I teach it and the way that I think everyone should do it is have something, you know, for your spirit that's like the sun practice or however it is that you want to do it. My Kundalini practice is really good for my spirit and I really love it. So even if I just do like 5 minutes of it where I'm moving my energy. So it's an energy practice. And then I have my muscular practice where it's like I want to be in tune with my muscles and in tune with, like for me personally, I love Pilates. I have a reformer in my house. But it's like you have to like get engaged like that. And I try and do that before I start taking care of other people. So with that practice, when I fall off, I see the difference. You know, like I'm not standing up as right, and I'm a human. Like your practices fall off, but it's like the reason why we have practices is so we go back into it. You know, so it's like, how do you sit upright? Like with Pilates, for instance, and like with sexual trauma, I've had sexual trauma as well. And it's like, how do I use my muscles in a way where I'm like, okay, I am safe.
Yes.
And how do I conduct myself in a way where it's like, I'm not holding, you know? And I think you have to get to know your muscles to know, oh, my muscles are holding right now. You know, like you have to be so aware of your body. And I think that that's the other thing for teaching women and for women to be aware of is like, what is your body saying to you? You know, is this my mind being like, oh, you're not safe? Or is like this person really not safe? And your body knows the difference, you know?
Yes. think there's something about, just quickly on workouts. It's so funny. Milana Snow, one of our friends, we've had this weird experience where we'll go to classes like very intense HIIT workouts. And we'll talk about how it's like sometimes we'll see it like ourselves leaving our bodies. And I'm realizing now that you're talking, I'm like, what workouts can you do where you feel more in your body? And it's things like Pilates, things like yoga. You know, it could be different for anyone, but I'm thinking about how Pilates does give you that opportunity to feel more in your body than outside of it.
Yeah, and my teacher, Rachel, she's really strict. Like, she can watch when you leave your body, and she's like, like, this is a tune-in practice. This isn't a tune-out practice.
Wow.
So I think that I think that's important too. And even when you do want to check out, how do you check in? Like, even if you want to check out and dance and it's like, oh, this is amazing. I love checking out and I love when I feel bigger than myself. But how do you use your workout and how do you use every moment, you know, where it's like, even if you want to check out, how do you check in and out at the same time? Like, how do you hold your spirit in your body and lift out?
Yes.
Like, how do you feel every single muscle that you're moving and feel high?
Yes.
And I guess specifically, what does that practice look like for you to tune into your body? Because I think I've been doing that a bit with my therapist, who kind of like veers way off the therapy path a lot of the times, which I love. And I have this inner critic that's like, you're not feeling that correctly. Like, I doubt myself constantly on like what I'm feeling. And so how would you lead someone in tuning into their body? Is it feeling the physical? Is it feeling sensations?
Oh, all of it. I think the sun practice, like I said, is super, super important, and having some type of cleansing ritual in the morning where it's like you're just like tuning in, spending time alone, like, because you want to know what's your voice versus what other voices are. Spending time alone is super, super, super important. And then I think that for you, if you're like, give that person a name inside of yourself, you know, like I have an inner critic that likes to tell me I'm wrong, you know, like, hey girl, I hear you, you know, where it's like, I have like a feisty person and then I have like this little chihuahua where I'm like, oh wow, the chihuahua is out right now. Like, she's like, and like, she's like nothing's really happening. Yes. And she's just like barking.
She's like going in circles.
I love that.
But it's like, I'm like, oh, hey, there's the chihuahua again. Like, there she goes. You know, where it's like, if you give it a name, then it's like, it doesn't really have power over you.
Yes.
And like, for me specifically, like, you know how chihuahuas are. They like, nothing happens. And they're just like, I'm really big and I'm here.
Yes.
That's what's in here. And I'm like, whoa, girl. Like, there she goes. So if you give it a name, I feel like it's just, then you can like watch it and it's not powerful.
Sure.
Where it's like a lot of people, what they do with their minds is like they go on and then it just runs wild. And then it's just like da 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 da, where it's like, oh, where there's that little voice inside of me that's like, don't trust yourself.
Yeah, not identifying with it is really important. In our treatment, so I did a treatment with Dr. Sheila. So we did the sexual
healing treatment.
Sexual healing treatment. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So I designed a treatment to rewire and recircuit the sexual body. And so what it does is it's 0.0. It goes in your ear and then the parasympathetic point in your ear. So I'm resetting your right and left hemispheres of your brain, and then I'm sedating the nervous system. So that's the first 2 points that you hit is in the ear. So then I go to REN 1 and DO 1, which is the perineum. So it's the spot between the vaginal opening and the anus, and then DO 1 is between the anus and the coccyx. So the coccyx is the base of the spine. And then that fires it back up to the brain. So I'm basically, there's an energy line in the body that goes from your back up your spine and then down the center, and it circuits. So what we're doing in that treatment is we're basically saying reset yourself. So in the iPhone world, that would be like you hit all the buttons and then it just like goes off for a second and you're like, yes, I won. Like that's what we're doing to the body essentially, is we're literally just like hitting all the buttons and then sedate, like it basically makes the body just drop. So then what we do is I learned this technique with trigger point work with athletes from this guy that went to Harvard that I went to school with. And so when an athlete gets injured, you do all these different trigger point works and you move the foot a specific way and then you move it the other way. And it's basically refiring the nervous system back down to the body. So we do that, but we're doing it in terms for sexual healing. So I basically am working with the nerve interventions that go from L1, L2, L3, L4, L5, S1. And so that's all of the nerves that go from the lower part of the spine that's going into the reproductive system, that's going all the way down the muscles. Because what's happening with sexual assault or in trauma is like, if I touch you after you've been assaulted, you don't even do anything. Your muscles just go like this. It's almost like they claw inward. And so the women that I've worked with and I saw over time, like that, even after I reset them, the muscles still needed to get worked. So I found that when I do this muscle treatment, and you felt it, your legs differently, so you can talk about it. And then afterwards, I do a really light massage through all of the meridians to just open everything back up.
Yeah, I did it. It was interesting. So, and this happens to us. I feel like when we do these things, like it's like, oh, now and now you're naked and something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like, oh,
now there's a needle in my vagina.
Yeah, now here I am. It's Tuesday and there's a needle in my vagina. I didn't feel them going in. It was very pleasant. In the ear it was as well. And I think I almost dozed off for a little bit. It was just that relaxing to have the nervous system. And then when you did the trigger point with the feet, it was, I mean, whenever I can feel energy going back into my feet, it's such a joy because I don't feel it a lot. And so just moving everything felt so good. And I felt like since this conversation has come into my life, it's felt like even more relevant to do the work around it. I don't know if it's because I'll have kids in a couple years and I really want to be as healed as possible for children. But yeah, I felt incredibly relaxed. And I think even just the knowing of what's going on is important and helpful for me. So in situations where at times I'm just kind of shut it down, or I feel like I'm unable to really feel embodied because of things that have happened in my past. It's just so liberating to know that it's like my nervous system trying its best to protect me, and that I can really work with that from that point.
Totally. And then one other point I put in is do 20. And that is a heavenly meeting point of the ancestors. And it raises all of your clear energy in your body up to your head. So what happens a lot when that energy line, because
that's on your clip.
That is on the top of your head. But I'm not opposed to bringing the clit either. I'm just kidding. I don't do that with my patients.
You never know.
I mean, I'm sure people want to pay me a lot.
Yes, they would. And then it was right here on the head.
No, it's top of the head.
Yes.
So it's the top of the head. It raises the clear energy. So one of the things that happens when that because the way that I look at it is the circuitry breaks. So you have this circuitry that's moving from the front and the back of the body, and it's just, that's you being in touch. That's you being embodied, what you would say. So when you have assault, the energy lines go like this, and it pulls up. And so when it's retracted like that, you're like, and I think that's what you and I had said is like, wow, you've done so well being like not all the way online because of the way that you were carrying your energy. Where if you, like, once you move back in, it's like, God knows what's going to happen. So it's like, and you just being aware of it, you know, like when are you retracting? So when the energetics retract like that, our energy, our ability to think clearly isn't happening as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because the way that the lower part of the energy is, it digests energy. So it's like our ability to sift through and find the gold, or sift through and be like, that person needs to leave, or this person can stay. That ability is fractured when that energy line is broken. And so that's the point of like raising your clear energy back up to your head, is like you're lifting the clearest part of you back up and leaving, like letting everything else sink.
Wow.
When it comes to orgasms and related to the sexual body and those blocks, like what is happening when someone either cannot experience an orgasm or they feel really disconnected from that sensation or being able to access that?
So there's different things that can happen with that. One, it could be it could be trauma for sure. That's one aspect of it. And then we would have to look at, is there trauma here? Two is like the self-defense. Like, why is your body, because it's like having an orgasm with somebody is really like powerful. You connect that person. And when we're talking about connection, like the way that I teach it and talk about it is you're chemically binding to somebody. You're literally, we're these carbon beings, you know, and people think like they overlook that and they think it doesn't matter, but it does matter. And it does matter. Like when you orgasm with somebody, you're going there, you're like opening, you're bearing your soul and you're leaving yourself vulnerable for someone else to bind to you. And so then it's a binding thing where this person has access to you. This person has access to your brain. They have access to your intuition. They have access to your energy. And so then I would look at, why doesn't this person feel safe? Like, is this person not safe and your body's protecting you? and it's telling you like, don't go here with that person. And then the next part of it would be like the surrender. So the surrender would be like, why aren't you able to surrender and receive and allow yourself to be fully exposed? Because that's what it is. You're fully exposing yourself. Like, and is it your brain?
Yeah.
Is it like something where it's like your brain is just that you have so many thoughts that you can't get into your body? Is it because they're not properly, like foreplay is super, super important, and you have to build into an orgasm. And the last thing is, I would be like, you need to figure your body out, like pleasure yourself. Like you have to know what works for you, what doesn't work for you, like what's going on and how do you get off. And if you don't know how you get off, then you have to spend more time figuring that out.
As a 33, almost 34-year-old, I have gotten to the point where I am making my bed, my sanctuary, a priority. And I am really, really happy to share a brand that I am obsessed with, Boll and Branch. Okay, so if you haven't heard of Boll and Branch, they make the most high quality sheets on the market. And in the process of making these sheets, they are making the world a better place. More on that in a moment. But these are incredibly soft, high quality sheets. And I actually didn't realize like the difference. I had always kind of like not thought about my quality of sheets, but when I tried Boll and Branch, I was like, oh, this is it. So they are buttery soft. They get softer with every single wash. Super lightweight, 100% organic cotton sateen weave. It's perfect for all seasons. I tend to run hot, and I honestly noticed that these sheets do not make me hot. And they have a super high standard as far as their processes to make these sheets. It's toxin free, and they have a fair trade certification. So this ensures that their workers are paid fair living wages. So I'm really, really, really proud to be working with Boll and Branch and really excited to share them with you. Make the investment in your sheets. I promise you it will make going to bed and winding down at the end of the day just that much more just juicy, you know? So I'm really excited. We have a discount. You know us. You can experience the best sheets you've ever felt by choosing Boll and Branch, and you can try them worry-free for 30 nights with free shipping and returns. You'll get 15% off your first set of sheets with promo code almost30pod at bollandbranch.com. So that's almost30pod is the code. When you go to bollandbranch.com, that's bollandbranch.com. The code is almost30pod for 15% off your first set of sheets. Okay, ladies, if you are ready to upgrade your period products, listen up. Okay, I found Flex a few years ago, and I have been a true fan for quite a long time now. And so the fact that we're partnering with them is just so aligned, makes sense. I've vetted this brand, so is Krista. We love, love, love. I use the Flex disc when I have my period. This can be worn up to 12 hours and holds as much as 3 super tampons. So this is not a cup. It's unlike any other period product you've seen before. And it's the only product you can wear for mess-free period sex. I have tried it and it's true. What I love is that it's easy to use. It took me like 1 or 2 tries to really just get it right. You know how sometimes even with tampons or cups, it's like you have to try a few times, but after I got it, it's so easy. And Flex discs reduce waste by 60% compared to pads and tampons. So the planet will thank you too. And if you're a cup kind of gal, they have a cup as well. So it's a reusable cup made with a velvety soft material. So it's super comfortable. And this is the menstrual cup on the market with a pull tab. This is the only one. So you remove it the way you'd remove a tampon. It's super easy. You already know how to use it. And it lasts for years. It's completely body safe and non-toxic. So you have options, the Flex disc or the Flex cup. I vetted them. I approve. So does Krista. So say goodbye to leaks and messes and stress, and say hello to healthier periods for people and the planet. You know what I mean? We're saving the planet as we do this. And I have to just plug also that my cramps have absolutely diminished since using the disc. So, I can't like say that across the board for everyone, but I have noticed a difference. So go to flexfits.com/almost30 and use the code almost30 for 20% off Flex disc starter kits or 10% off your first Flex cup plus free shipping. So go to flexfits.com/almost30. Use the code almost30 at checkout to get 20% off Flex disc starter kits or 10% off your first Flex cup. Fall is coming up, a new season for a reset, for kind of like a recalibration in the nutrition department. I have to, and I will always recommend Sakara. Sakara delivers organic, ready-to-eat meals that are made with super, super, super powerful plant-based ingredients. I honestly feel like I have a private chef when I'm getting my Sakara meals. And these are specifically designed to boost your energy, improve your digestion, and get your skin glowing. You will never, ever get bored with these meals. They are chef crafted and they are changed all the time, and they are delivered fresh anywhere in the US. This is major. So anywhere you are in the United States, hello, order Sakara now. This is a perfect way to reset. I notice when I am eating a plant-based diet, everything changes. My energy especially increases, and I notice a difference in my skin. Woo, just wait for it. I'm actually getting my order this week. I'm so excited for specifically the root veggie enchilada. So this has a coconut lime crema and a side of Sakara rice and beans. I'm also super, super pumped for the Empress rice. So this is brown rice, veggie medley, sauteed spinach, a tamari glaze. They have great breakfast like a coconut praline granola with antioxidant cacao milk. Y'all, they do it right. It's so interesting. It's so delicious. And I promise you, you'll feel amazing. So for our listeners, as always, we got you. You can get 20% off your first order when you go to sakara.com/almostsakara or enter the code almostsakara at checkout. So that's almost SAKARA. Almost SAKARA at checkout when you go to sakara.com/almostsakara. Is anyone else super picky about the fish that they eat? Okay, so I'm picky about where it comes from, how, like, the quality of it. And I'm always guessing. I'm like, is this good? And like, I never really know. And so when I found Wild Alaskan Company, I was super, super stoked. We tried it before. So Krista had Justin try it because she doesn't eat fish, but I tried this. I made a few meals with their incredible high quality fish. And I was so freaking stoked. It like kind of takes the guesswork out of it for me, which really helps. But I'm cooking a lot more at home because of it. So Wild Alaskan Company delivers that high quality, sustainably sourced wild caught seafood right to your door. Okay, so you don't have to worry about it. It's going to be super convenient. You can choose from salmon, whitefish, or a combination. And every month there are different specials to explore. It's really awesome, and you can customize. Each shipment contains premium wild-caught, individually wrapped portions of super delicious seafood that's ready to prepare and easy to cook. So generally, like, I'll take out my wild salmon from the freezer and put it in the fridge to kind of defrost a little bit over the course of the day, and then I'll have it by dinner, like, ready to cook. It's so awesome. So they're always wild, never farmed or modified, and it contains no antibiotics. Yes, please. So you can adjust, pause, or cancel your membership at any time, and they offer 100% satisfaction guaranteed or your money back, baby. So right now you can get $15 off your first box of premium seafood when you visit wildalaskancompany.com/almost30. Got that? wildalaskancompany.com/almost30 for $15 off your first box. One more time, wildalaskancompany.com/almost30. Make sure you use that URL. You, our listeners, you will get $15 off your first box. Just got my latest order of Woo More Play. I just get so excited to share this with you all because I've been getting a ton of direct messages on Instagram about how much you're loving Woo More Play. So many of you are like, oh my God, the coconut love oil has changed my life. And truly, this is something that I literally do not run out of. I'm always just like ahead of the game and replenishing. This is an organic, clean lube that my body absolutely loves, and it really works. So the coconut love oil is made with coconut oil, vanilla essence, beeswax, stevia. So it's sweet, it's yummy, it smells amazing, and it's also just really clean. So we have to be careful what we're putting down in our private areas, you know what I mean? And I truly trust this brand and have been using it for a very, very long time. I give it a 10 out of 10. I also love the Freshies. So these are wipes that you can take on the go. You can use them before or after sex. And they are also all natural, made with organic ingredients, and just smell amazing. And it's not too strong of a smell at all. It's just all very natural scents. And I'm excited for you guys to try. They have just incredibly well-made, thoughtful products for your pleasure. So check out woomoreplay.com. Use the code almost30 for 20% off. So woomoreplay.com. Use the code almost30 for 20% off your first order.
I feel like that the foreplay piece sounds like obvious, but I think it's like the aspect of spending more time connecting.
Yeah.
It's like that piece. It's like, yes, the physical stimulation and like the leading up is obviously helpful, but I've found just like, the foreplay like begins before we even start touching each other. And I just feeling connected. I just notice how much more turned on I can be when the moment comes, you know, but I know that it's because it was the hours leading up to.
Yeah.
You know, that we were thoughtful or checking in with each other or just like observing the other, like, and admiring them. Like, it's so much more complex than we give it.
Way more complex. And we're complex, you know? So it's like, you have to understand, like, I always tell people, like, if you can't fuck my brain, you can't fuck me. I'm such an intellect.
They're like, oh, you want to be manipulated, bitch?
What?
Sure. They're like, oh, you want to be manipulated?
But it's like, I feel that. Where it's like, I'm such a brainiac, and I'm running on all these different cylinders. So unless you can really spar mentally, like, that's never happening.
Yeah.
And I would never even have an orgasm. I'd be like, I'm so not turned on by any of this. And so if you're having, you have to, I know myself, like, I know that that's where my lines are. Like, unless you're like really like mind blowing me, like it's not going to happen for me. Like, you have to mind blow me, and then I can go there with you.
And then I'll blow you.
Exactly.
I think there was something you said too, like, if you want to just have sex with someone, there's a way that you can do that and not bring them through all of your chakras.
Yeah. You just like, I always teach my girls this. Yeah. It's like, people want to have sex with somebody, and it's like what you're talking about, like the connection, where it's like you want to have a connection, and there's a difference between wanting to have a connection and wanting to get off. And you have to understand your lines, you know, and it's so important for all of us to understand our lines, because it's like, if you're wanting to have a connection, but then the part of you that wants to get off is like, I just want to get off, then you're going to be severely disappointed, you know, because then you're just like going off, and especially I'm not on any dating apps, but in the whole dating app world, where it's like the Hinge and the Tinder, and like, it's a very like, I want to have sex culture. And so these girls will come to me and be like, thinking they're like the one, you know, after like, and I'm like, oh God, we've got a lot more to work on than like cord cutting. You know? I'm just like,
I always wonder, I'm like, how much of that is women truly wanting to just fuck? And how much of that is like the new kind of reverse engineered patriarchal programming, where now we're taught that like we should just fuck for fun? Like, how many women would rather have connection and good sex over just good sex?
And I think that that's where people have to learn their boundaries.
Exactly.
You know, you have to learn how to withhold, because it's like, all of us are animals. All of us want to have sex, period. And if you don't, then let's talk about your psychology. Let's talk about something else. Like, it's a very animalistic, like, we're like dolphins, you know, we just like to have pleasure like that. And I'm not saying that there aren't people that are asexual. There definitely is that. And that's okay. That's not like a disrespect to people that are asexual. Like you can do whatever you want in your life. However, the majority of us are very sexual creatures. And so then what it is it's like understanding, you know, like, okay, I'm not that type of person. And there are some people that just want to be bachelorettes forever. And that's okay, you know, but it's like you have to understand what do you want in your life and how can you create exactly what you want. So if you're having like an orgasm, and I mean, we've talked about this. I was in an open relationship for a long time. And so it's like there was people.
Will you share what that is with people that might
yeah,
not know?
so I was in an open relationship. So we were in a relationship with each other, and being in an open relationship is it's perfectly consensually okay for both of us to have other relationships. However we want it, and it was very open conversation. So it was like you can have sex with whoever you want. I'm going to have sex with whoever I want, and it's an open conversation.
And when you just have to tell them?
I mean, he was different than I was. Like he wanted to tell me everything. And I'm more like, don't ask, don't tell. I feel like I like my naughty side.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Like,
and would you do it in like you live together or no?
No, we didn't live
okay.
together. No.
Cool.
But
I mean, that teaches great communication.
It's excellent communication. A part of the reason why I loved it so much is because it really pushed all of my boundaries.
Yeah.
And I loved that because I like to grow as a person.
Yeah.
And I love being uncomfortable and just being like, I'm going to breathe through this. And then even being able to express myself. And he was so safe for me to express all of me. Like I could be angry and I could be this and I could be frustrated and I could like have jealousy. Like I could do anything. And I was so loved. So it was fun for me in that time of my life. I want something different now. And even the way that he was in an open relationship and I was in an open relationship was just different. Like because I have like a very high standard of like who I allow in my life. And I think that he was just in a different place in life where it's like, he was more like, the more the merrier, you know, when there's nothing wrong with that. Like he's an amazing human being and he does a lot of events and that works for him. And like, for me, I'm just like, I like my sacred pods. So we wanted different things.
What was the hardest thing about an open relationship?
The hardest thing about an open relationship, especially with a very powerful man like that, is when women want to disposition you. Like, it's like if you're sitting on a throne.
So are they aware, by the way?
Yeah.
So they're aware that you are in the picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're aware, and then they want to be in your seat.
Yes.
And that is the hardest part because it's like there's the agreement that we have that he's allowed to connect with who he wants to connect to. And then there's that part where this woman's like, I'm beelining you and I don't care what else is here. And it's just like, it's because I'm really sensitive and I'm very like, the relationships to me are so sacred. And so if he's interested in somebody and he wants to put his time and energy, like I want to get to know her. And I just like, or if he doesn't want to keep that like separate, that's fine too. But like, I would never, and this is what I said to him, like, I don't want you to be seeing somebody and I come into town and you ghost her. Like that hurts me. Like I would want like there just to be the openness of just like she's invited and just like more like beautiful like that, because I think that human sexuality is so much more complicated than we let on, and I would rather it be just an open conversation than us like always in hiding, you know? Where like my style is more like if that's what turns him on, then that's fine. But like I like to date when I was doing it in different locations. Like I don't like to blend things like that. Like I like my naughty side and that's over there. And then he's like, this is like super sacred and this is ours, you know? But now I want something different, just so that's like clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was really, really, really beautiful to go through all of that. And the dispositioning, like women would come in and it's like, he's a powerful, successful man. And they just like, are like, I want you and I want to be in that position and I don't care. And then the energy that I would receive from them was just like not beautiful. And then one of the biggest struggles in our relationship was like when women would like that would come around and I would get upset about it. He would be like, you're just being jealous. And I'm like, no, I'm not being jealous. Like I've actually watched you have sex with people. Like this isn't me being jealous. This is this woman not being respectful of me.
It's the woman being jealous.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's intuition. You
Yes.
know, we know when like there's something
Off.
Yeah. I mean, one of the days, like, and I mean, but we're just meeting. I work my butt off. Like I work so hard. And when I would go up and like stay with him for a week, I just like want to be loved and nurtured and eat from his garden. Like I don't need any like bitchy energy. And one of the times I was over there, this woman walked in, and the moment she walked in, she looked in my eyes, and it was just like, ugh, like, why are you here? You know, and I can feel that. I'm so sensitive, and especially like being in the forest and thinking you're in a safe container, and then all of a sudden someone comes and like hits you with bricks like that.
Wow.
I'm just like, and I told him right then, I'm like, I feel really uncomfortable.
Aww.
And it was funny too, because like I got like uncomfortable, and I was like all natural, like not wearing any makeup or anything, and just like in my natural element, and then I get hit with that, and I'm like, I need to go put on my makeup. And it was just like, and making myself feel secure. And he's like, babe, why are you putting on makeup? And I'm like, I just like need to put on my makeup.
You're like, we're competing and I need to win.
Literally. I'm winning here.
Yes.
Runways in an hour.
Yes, honestly, we're gonna have a Zoolander walk off.
My leathers are coming.
Wow.
Yeah, literally. Yes.
And not my whips.
Yes, you
My
walk out
leather
in like a
dress.
bikini and heels. You're like, oh, this old thing.
Game just got up.
Yes, that's the thing is your intuition, you know.
Yeah.
When there's something.
What was crazy about it is I didn't like stoop to that level. Like my mom always says, like, here's the bar, and I'm not lowering it for anyone. And so I was just kind to her like all day long, and like just like really kind through all of that. And I'm just like, just breathe, just breathe. But that's why I love my practice, because it's like I'm not changing who I am because she's there. And or like even using my energy in a way where I'm like gonna take my anger and I'm like, I'm gonna fight you. It's like obviously Mortal Kombat is in my head, and I'm like, finish her.
yes. Like it's only a matter of time.
But what was crazy about that story is like a month later or 2 months later, she calls him and she's like, I just want to thank you and Sheila so much, because that was such an initiation for me, and I really had to go through the dark night of my soul.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
such a good reminder.
what? And so I'm like, what does that mean? Like, in my
Yes.
Mortal Kombat voice.
Yes.
No, but so then I was like, what is that? And he's like, yeah, she just like, she literally, and I quote, said this, I'm just so used to being the most beautiful girl in the room, and it was really challenging for me to be around her.
Wow.
And I'm like, who thinks like that?
I
Like,
know.
I've never.
Because
had
the fact
those
that she
thoughts.
said that, she admitted to that, is kind of powerful.
Yeah.
That's what
You
he
know.
said. And I
It's also interesting too when you don't pander to people that, because you know when a woman walks in the room, she's like, damn, I'm used to being the most beautiful in the room, and you don't approach her as the most beautiful woman in the room. You're just like, hi, how are you? It's very it's very odd.
I guess I am like more looking into people's eyes, and I'm looking into people's souls, and I'm more interested in energy.
Yeah.
And so when I see energy, I'm like, oh my God, you've got beautiful energy. And it's not, for me, it's not about looks. And I think it's so vain and so shallow to be like, oh, I'm so used to being the most beautiful girl in the room. I'm like, I have so much more than my looks. Like, I'm so loving. I'm so compassionate. I'm such a good friend. Like, and so to be like, I'm so used to, like, it's like, you don't want to get to know me. I'm a doctor. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have like a really interesting things to talk about and to hear. Like, I want to hear you. I don't want to talk. Like, it's like, but I think it's also funny because I'm like, I'm gonna go put on my makeup.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like you were receiving her energy of like, this is a competition. It's about looks. And so you're like, oh, this is a competition. This is about looks. And then you sort of like settle and you're like, oh, wait, this isn't. Just the last thing on the open relationships, who would you suggest them for and who would you suggest them not for?
I mean, I think that people that are trying to really grow themselves, like if you're wanting to push all of your buttons, all of your edges, go completely raw, and also like be a little unstable in moments, like, you know, and just like that would be the thing. Like, because I was in the point in my life where it's like, I'm not at the point right now. Well, I am now, but it's like I was in a place where I could just like spare a few years. You know what I mean?
I was like, you have to have time.
You have to have time.
To like deal with your emotions and stuff and be like, fuck.
And some people, that's like their thing. Like,
Yeah.
I have clients that it's like, they're just in an open relationship and they're turned on by that. Where for me, I think and I think everyone should try it once just to like, you know, if you want to try Chinese food. Like, no, I'm just kidding.
I don't know if I'd.
No, but if you know
Yeah.
yourself, if you know that's not something I ever want to try, know yourself. You know what I mean? Where for me, I just like, there was a big hype about it. There was a lot of clients that I had that were like talking about it, and I had never experienced it. And so for me, it was almost like an investment on, like, I teach sacred sexuality and sexual healing. And so for me, it was like, all right, I'm investing.
This is research.
And it was research for me. And it was like serious. I felt like it was research, and I was like, how do I feel here? Like documenting everything. And just like being able to help people through their uncomfort and energy. I would say for somebody that needs stability and needs consistency and needs, like, it's almost like they need a rock. You need to know like what kind of relationship that you need. And like, you have to be ready to have all those conversations, where I got to the point where I'm like, this isn't for me, because I don't want to be at my partner's house and have that kind of energy thrown at me and it just be like this thing. Like, I need a sacred container and I need stability and I want grounded and I want all these other things, you know?
Yeah. I just want to circle back to if you are casually having sex with people, how are we able to protect our sexual body? And I think we started to talk about the chakras, like keeping it low so it doesn't travel all the way up. Like, what can we do in the moment?
Yes. So one technique is your breath is everything, always. You know, your breath is everything. And so that would be one layer of it. And then I also want to ask, like, are you really casually having sex? Or are you wanting more? You know, so getting clear with that question. And then it would be like, if you study the chakra systems, like, you wouldn't bring them all the way up to your crown. You know, in a sacred sexuality practice, it's like, that's where you want to be living in your sexuality, is like, if you're with a partner, if you're with somebody that you're like growing with, and also asking yourself, like, can you handle going all the way up and then disconnecting from somebody? And I find it very hard to do. It's very hard to like bare your heart and your soul and your everything and then just disengage. And that's why I like it. But also, some people can do that, you know? So it's like, it's understanding like, where are you and how you can do that. A cord cutting practice is really important. So afterwards, just showering and then disconnecting. And one of the techniques is like, you say what you are. Like, I am Sheila. My eyes are blue. My hair is brown. And so you're going into statements like immediately after to separate your energy from them. The other thing I'll say about that is it's super, super, super important that you do not have energetic leaks. And so after you have sex with somebody, doesn't mean, and even your husband, it doesn't mean, or your wife, it doesn't mean they get full access to you all the time, like in an energetic leaky way. And it's your responsibility not to leak your energy.
What does that look like? What does energetic leakiness look like?
That would be like somebody, I'm a very firm believer in we have to be aware and in control of our thoughts. And it's like our responsibility to manage our entire being. And so an energetic leak would be like, you've had sex with somebody, it's casual sex, and then you go into fantasy freaking island. Are we going to be together? What does this mean? What is this happening? Like, are you in love? What are, like, I'm going to my psychic and I'm like, well, read them for me.
Yes. Dude, I used to do
Wow,
that so
been
much.
there. I know, same. I'm like, I'm cool. We could just have sex one time.
And you're like, so his family's from
I know.
Nantucket.
So I
That'd be fun during the summer.
Yeah, honestly, dude, girls are so. You know
I Googled him.
It's so funny. Nikki Glazer, I was listening to her one time, and she said this hilarious thing that I really never thought of. Is she was like, I was flirting with this guy on the plane, and we were flirting and talking and blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden, you know, he mentions his girlfriend, and I felt like he had like cheated on me. Like, I felt we had this like thing going, and she's like, I felt so, and it's so true. It's like when you're flirting with like a stranger. And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, you know, my wife. You're like, what fucking wife? You know what I mean?
Like, you're mine.
You're like, I'm the only one.
Yes. You're like, what are you talking about?
Like, that's the 2-year-old inside of you.
Exactly. You're like, wait, what do you mean? Like,
yeah.
It's like you want to continue the fantasy of whatever's going on. So when you kind of say that, you're like, what the fuck?
It's like, I'm in my terrible twos right now and everything's mine.
But it's like the leakiness of allowing yourself to feel all of those things.
Yeah, you have to be protective.
And I think that was when I was single for quite some time, and like when I would date people, I would have sex really early on. And that for me was like a leakiness.
Yeah.
You know, it was like I was really
a reach.
I was giving it up very soon, and like
hey guys, shop's closed, everyone. Everyone wants to fuck Lindsay, the shop's closed.
But it was a way for me, because I really enjoy sex. I enjoy expressing myself in that way. And so I was like, oh, this is a way that they can get to know me, you know, and this is a way I can kind of like make them love me, I guess. I don't know. But really what was happening, I was letting them in too soon, and I was letting them, now I'm realizing, and you speaking, like, kind of travel up way too far.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I wasn't allowing it to be kind of just that really kind of rooted experience.
Yeah.
And I think too,
well, and that's the, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and I think when you're spiritual people having sex, you're kind of like, oh, the goal is for ecstasy. And so you almost pull it up because you're like, oh, this is what I've read about in sacred sexuality and sex. And so you kind of do the practices of magic and ritual on people that probably aren't
Shouldn't
safe for you to be doing with.
Well, yeah, and that's a huge thing, you know, and especially like as these topics are getting more hot, people are like, let's have sacred sexuality.
Yes.
And it's like sacred sexuality is not group sex on ketamine.
Yeah, literally. I mean, dude, that's so LA.
It is,
dude.
It's super
They're
LA.
like, you want to go to a party and we'll like wear like nipple tassels and fuck each other's partners? And you're
Yeah,
like,
why not?
what?
Like, it's like, call it a day. But what going back real quick to what you were talking about is like the practices. It's like the way I look at it is taste. If you want to have sex, I love sex just like you. I'm like, and honestly, I'm like, I'm amazing. So if it's going to work out, it's going to work out. And if it's not, like, I know where you're going in here. Like, I don't have rules on, and I do not, this is not the rule for everyone. Gabby, my girlfriend, she has this company called the Man Funnel. And we are literally like exception, not the rule, because it's like, you have to move through yourself in a way and know yourself so well to be able to be like, I'm not like, I can do that with myself.
Yeah.
Like, I can taste this guy's energy and it's not going to run my life.
Yes.
You know, where it's like, if you're not there, then yes, you should have a 3-month rule, like, or a 6 months, whatever the rule is for you. Because if you can't taste a guy's energy, because it is like tasting it, it's first chakra, taste the energy. Does this work for you? Yes or no? Can you go to level 2? You know, but it's like, you choose what level they're going to. And the issue that's happening and like the lack of actual sexual education, you know, because this would be actual sexual education. It's not like, don't have sex, it's bad, you're going to get an STD. Like, it's literally like, this is sexual education. This is your body. This is how your energy system works. This is the chakra system and this philosophy. And this is where you're bringing people. Don't bring them to your crown, you know, unless you want to, unless this is your husband and you're wanting, or it doesn't have to be husband. It could be a partner or a safe container, you know, somebody that is safe and can handle you that close and will take care of you being that close. And what's happening right now is a lot of people are just going out and they're having sex, and it's a sex culture, and then they have like the ghost of all these people that are pulling on their energy. And with sexual assault and trauma, it's like, I view it as these predators are harnessing your sexual energy.
Yes.
And it's your sexual energy is abundant, and it's here to guide you through life. It's going to make all the money that you need to make. It's here to serve you, and you can't have it be attached to so many people.
Yeah. That's why I think too, I always bring stuff to like very weird esoteric topics, but it's like, that's where there's a lot of like black magic and energy that can come through you, through your lower chakras, and almost get to the point where they're taking energy from all your centers in like a really negative way. It's almost like in Law of One, they talk a lot about negative and positive polarity. And when you have a lot of polarity, whether it's negative or positive, you have the opportunity, or the other side has the opportunity to take polarity. So if an example, there's the opportunity within sex to go to the white, you know, or to go all the way to the top of your chakra centers, which is a very high polarity. There's a lot of charge. The negative polarity would want to take as much polarity as possible from the other side. So because that opportunity is there to go either way, there's like a greater chance of a negative polarity sort of taking polarity through sex.
Totally.
Which is wild.
But it's powerful.
I know.
Sex is so powerful.
So with couples, how would a couple that feels safe, like feels like they're in a container, or two people that are in a commitment to go there with sacred sexuality, what are some ways in which people can practice or lean into sacred sexuality?
I would say, one, it would be like, it's the understanding the courtship process, you know, and really focusing on constantly courting your partner. And it's not just about the act of having sex. It's how do you make love in the day-to-day actions, and like really get to know your partner, like picking up their freaking dry cleaning for them, and or whatever, like making their life better and easier, and every day thinking like, how can I love you more today, and how can I give you more today? And then when you get into the act of actually having sex, it's like, how can I worship your body? Like, and I love essential oils and anointing rituals and like scalp massages, hand massages, feet massages. That's going to help your partner get out of their head and into their body. And even just light different styles of touch, like even like hard touch, tickling for a second, that's going to help the nervous system. So when you touch different styles of touch, I call it fucking the nervous system. And so you're really fucking the nervous system before you have sex, and then like really taking your sweet time at least once a week of like really going there with your partner, like a sacred Sunday or however, whatever sacred day. That's why I like to call it sacred sexuality, like figuring out a day where you reserve the night and it's just, how can I worship you? How can I just take care of your body and like pour my heart and soul into your being? And that's what you want to think about it. And then breathing is super important. Like I love a good meditation where you just like sit across from each other and you just like, well, I want you and I'm going to devour you, but I'm going to withhold and just breathe with you for a second. And then you want to think about it like in the act, it's not just like boom, it's the act. It's like, I want to tease you until you cannot take it anymore. And then you can have a little, you know? And then after, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go.
And then afterwards, you go through the art of disconnecting, you know, where it's like, it's not, you're not disconnecting permanently, but it's like, okay, that was our fun. And now I have things to do. And so it's not just this, it's not this unlimited access to my energy. It's like, you got it and now it's gone. So it's like a constant teasing, courtship, action, teasing, courtship, action. And you're in more of a dance instead of like this unlimited. And that does not mean that he can't like corner you and like have sex with you in the random hallway or something. Like that's all part of it too. But it's just making sure that you're reserving the time and the space and giving it the sacred energy that it deserves.
The withholding is really interesting. I guess what is, I definitely know, I've felt the benefits of withholding, but I don't know actually what's going on energetically.
Yeah, so you're containing your energy. That's what you're doing. So when you're withholding, you're holding your chi. And you can have a sexual practice that's a daily practice if you wanted to. That's not what the Taoists recommend because they believe that we need to reserve our energy. We need, because your energy is, your guys' energy is a lot of it's going in right now. And we've talked about that, you know, with like connecting to your listeners and like harnessing your energy. That's what your energy is for. So you can't just have these like constant leaks of energy. And so when you're having a practice, this is the Taoist philosophy, by the way. I'm still figuring out if like how I feel about it because I want sex every day.
I know, I agree.
But it's like you can still withhold and have sex. Does that make sense? Like you hold your energy, you're holding it back where you're not just like giving them everything all at once.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
so there's
that does.
parts that you're pouring in, and then it's an art. And practicing like Tai Chi or yoga, like, you know, when you do yoga, you expand and your arms are lengthening and then you contract. It would be something like that. And you're using your breath. And once you start really practicing sacred sexuality, you actually feel it. You just start getting a different language for it. Because then you're like, okay, I'm coursing my energy through my body. Okay, now I'm giving you my energy. And it's a different feeling within yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. With the cord cutting, do you do that regularly with, you just said that you do that with clients and then
Everybody.
Yeah. What's your process for that? Like, is it something you visualize or how can people cord cut?
Yeah, so I mean, my process now, I'm like over 10 years into this study and really studying my meridians and my body, so I can feel immediately when things are firing. So even like now, it's like coming into this container, I'm praying before I come into the container. May I say the best words for your audience? May like I be connected into your guys' hearts and souls, and just like having this moment in time together where I'm very present to what your audience needs to hear, what's going on. And then like from the container that you've created, and then I'm very present to you guys. And then afterwards, I am Sheila. Like I have to go back into this. And you guys are carrying, which we've talked about, when you have a voice and you have a microphone and you have people that are like listening to you, you know, they're really listening to you, they're seeking, you know, they're connecting into you every week and they're connecting into your energy. So it's a really good practice to think about it in separate containers. So this is the container, you know, of your workroom. This is what's going on here. And then when I close the door, like I am Krista and I am like whoever, you know, whatever I have going on. So an I am statement is really good. And then with the Taoist technique, it's you go and you, after every single patient, you go and you wash your hands and you just like visualize the sun pouring down you and you disconnect from that person's energy, because it's all touchy-feely. Like, we're feeling the pulse, we're palpating the channels, like we're receiving what's going on with that person's energy, and then we're interpreting it, and we're trained to do that. But then afterwards, you have to go to your next patient, and like, one, it's a physical thing of like, don't bring any bacteria from one patient to the other. But then it's also an energetic thing where it's like, let the water cleanse your meridians so you're not bringing toxic energy into another container. And so it's really the hand washing is super, super important. Skin brushing is really good. Like, just brush your skin after everyone, just like brush it off, like just like boom, boom. I like to go down my channels and meridians, so you can just go down the hands, you go down the legs, and you're just like, almost, or and you can also invite water. So you can invite the spirit of the water, like the spirit of the water, come in and cleanse me of all of the energy that I may have unconsciously or consciously picked up. And then the prayer, you know, like if I courted somebody intentionally or unintentionally, please disconnect me, because we do that too. We like court people and we want things from them, or like not always consciously. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But my prayer is always to be in the highest alignment with the highest integrity for the most amount of people. And so I'm constantly praying and having that intention, like, may the sun be feeding me, may my food be feeding me. Like, but it's like I'm getting fed from the universe instead of like needing to court other people for energy. But that's not the truth with everybody.
Yeah, I think that was interesting too when we were talking about just being a leader, and it's like people cord into you for energy, for your power source.
Yeah.
And, you know, something that we did last year in our work with Kiki, who I'll introduce you to, was almost created like a hologram. Like what we did was like created in the ether. This is kind of wild, but we created a hologram of us. So people, when they cord into the hologram, which actually isn't us. So they perceive the hologram to be us, and they can cord into something that's like not fully our energy and power source. Because when you have someone cording into that, they're really like leeching into you and they don't understand it or know it, for your like chi and also for your essence.
Totally. And that's one way to do it for sure. The holographic universe way.
Yes. Yes. So we put a little holographic version of us that exists, because we do need to, and I probably have done that too with people that I find really powerful or that I admire, where you're just like, wow, I think because of social media, you see the essence of people, or you see this projection of the essence. And so people want to copy essences of people.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening, which actually is really dangerous. Like psychically, when you are copying someone, it's so much more than you taking IP or, you know, creatively just not having the confidence to actually be yourself. There's actually like psychic essence stealing that's happening.
Yeah, and that's like, you can tune into people's channels. And I think that that's what's so fascinating about this world that we're in right now with social media, and like constantly putting ourselves out there, where we're not always recharging and like gathering our chi again. And so that's super important, is to really gather yourself, fill yourself up. That's why like the connection to the sun is super important. And then having I like to work with the holographic universe with protection around myself. So I literally have a castle around myself of energy that I've built over the last 10 years.
Love that.
And so when people are connecting with me, you're not even hitting the edges of the castle. Like if you think about Rapunzel, like, you know, where I'm just like sitting at the top, like looking at everything, but I can feel things like weeks before it happens. Like, because I've spent so much time building my armor in the energetic world, that it's like everything's energy, you know? So when you have that type of thing, you can read from miles away.
Wow. Yeah, we do that with Kiki too. And over the past year, we've really built our like protections, because we were so vulnerable in the spirit world previously. And it really, you know, ended up showing up in the real world, how vulnerable we were. And now it's just felt so much safer being so protected. So that's like Arcturians, that's like, you know, space and time. That's just like a lot of different ways in which that we've been able to protect ourselves psychically.
When you guys have to, you're both so empathic and sensitive. And it's like part of the beauty and part of the magic is being a magician, you know, and that's even part of sacred sexuality, and understanding sacred sexuality is like your energy is sacred, and the way that you move it is sacred, and you have to be a magician with it. You have to really practice magical technique, that's what that is. It's magical technique to preserve yourself, so you guys can keep going and keep being a voice that's bringing so much to so many people.
My last question is just, do you or do women have to do this work if they are in a relationship? Do they have to bring their partner in like consciously on it, or can they work on this on their own and just practice it within the relationship? I guess how important is the two people working together on it? Because I can imagine that a lot of these experiences are sensitive and can be hard to talk about. How important is that piece?
The way that I teach it is always like figuring out what my clients need and what's the best. For me personally, I think it's super important to bring that person in, because the edges that you have, are we talking about assault, or are we talking about just like sexual, sacred sexuality?
Both,
Yeah,
but I was kind of like, I was nodding to the assault because because I just think it's probably hard to talk about.
It is hard to talk about, and your power is in your vulnerability, because there are going to be edges, whether you like it or not, that you have because of it. And so the more that you can express yourself and the more that someone can understand you, the better that they can love you.
Amen.
Amen.
And with sacred sexuality, I mean, I have clients that they just like do the whole practice to their partner and they don't know about it. And then I have clients that like they're both very much in on it, and they have their dream board and their vision board, and they know exactly where their orgasms are going. I think it's always more powerful when you can get both conductors in the right way. And it also just deepens your guys' love and, for each other. And even if it's like humor your wife or your girlfriend or your partner or whatever it is, like all are welcome here, like LGBT, like LGBT, like all of it. Whatever that is for you, if you bring someone in on it, then it's going to make it more powerful for the both of you. But also like whatever it is that you need in your life or you want in your life, like that's okay too. Where some guys are like, oh, that freaks me out. Like, I don't want to be so connected, like all this stuff, where I'm like, if you don't want to be connected, we're not connecting.
Yes, 100%. They say that?
Like some people do, yeah.
Wow.
People are all over the place, like there's like people have like they're scared, and like some guys are just like, I just want to get it over with and get it done, where I personally wouldn't want to be with somebody like that. Yeah. But I have other clients that are like, but he's so amazing in all these other categories.
Yeah.
So it's like figuring out like where are your boundaries, where are your edges, where I'm like, we're going emotionally balls deep or we're not going.
Yeah.
If you gave our listeners just like one piece of advice about sexuality or, experiencing their magic, what is something that you would say?
I would say that with your the energy that you're born with, the energy, like your Jing Qi is the energy that you're born with. And then when you die, it's gone. And you have everything that it takes to run your life and be your life. Your sexual energy is powerful, and you can create anything that you dream in this world. And so I would say dream bigger, and don't be scared to walk away from anything, because you don't think you're enough. You are enough, and you were born enough. And that energy is going to take you all the way to the end, and trust it.
I love that. In A Course in Miracles, one of the sections is you ask from the world not too much, but you ask far too little. And I love that because I think it's so powerful. It's like we do ask for too little from our lives and from our relationships and from everything. And yeah, this has been so amazing. So tell people where they can find you, connect with you, and what they can expect.
So you can find me at Dr. Sheila Marie Cambell on Instagram. If you would like to know more about courses, info at nuchi.us. That's nuchi.us. And then I have a lot of courses on there. My courses in mystic study, sacred sexuality, sexual healing. What to expect is the sacred sexuality line is rolling out strong. And so is the sexual healing line. I'm constantly learning more things and then modifying the courses. And really my goal with the online courses is for people to have the foundational and fundamental understanding on how to move through trauma, and also just like how to have a dope human experience, and like how do you work with your brain, your nervous system, like really, really, truly understand your body and make the most of this. And so that's my whole mission and intention, is really helping people with the cord cutting rituals, with the cleansing rituals, and everything that helps me, being a super empathic person that like needs to grid the holy heck out of myself to like function in reality. But then also like everything that I've gathered, all the information I've gathered over the last 10 years of being in truly service to humanity and what I think is important that we know.
And can they get appointments with you in person? You have to apply.
Yeah. So if you want an appointment with me in person, you do have to apply. You can email info@nuchi.us and you can say what's going on for you and apply to it. And that is application only. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, all of this will be in the show notes, so check it out. Thank you for coming. We've never had a conversation like this on the pod, so
yeah, this
really,
is so
really
much
grateful.
fun. I want to do another one on mystic studies.
Let's do it.
Okay, perfect. All right, we love you. We'll talk to you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.